Before we leave the topic and talking about Detroit Police Chief James Craig has some big changes in the works. He plans to reassign more officers to field duty, launch a task force to curb carjackings, and is looking into starting a gang intelligence unit. And the goal would be obviously putting more cops on the streets. And when they disbanded the gang task force, that was a big deal, especially for a lot of kids who spoke out at these police commission meetings, which I thought was very interesting, that he's looking to bring some kind of task force back there.
I've heard estimates that gangs are responsible for anywhere from 50 to 60% of the murders in Detroit. And we've got a nation-leading murder rate here. I don't see how you ignore gangs. And, you know, it was a mistake to disband, but this is why they brought this guy in. I mean, this guy is a man of action. You look, he's been on the job a couple of weeks. He didn't even pretend, well, I'm going to take 6 months and study. He's moving in. He's shaking up the command ranks big time. A lot going on behind the scenes there in terms of moving ineffective commanders out. I think that'll do a lot to help morale down the ranks. This guy, in a very short order, is going to remake that police department.
You know, and I would expect that he would come in and start moving quickly. I don't think you take a job like this in Detroit and say, I'm going to sit back and study it, that you would have to know going in exactly what you're dealing with.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of time, and there's no patience on the part of Detroiters. You know, I mean, the crime is the single worst issue that city government handles right now in Detroit, and the reason we're paying this guy $225,000, which everyone's made such a big stink about, is that he's supposed to come in and make a difference, and I think he's really motivated.
Are you encouraged by what you've heard so far?
I am. I think he's got a plan. I'm much more encouraged, in fact, by the fact that he's brought CompStat back to the police department. I mean, this computer-based, not just way of tracking crime, but also of deploying the department's resources. That's the key part of the management.
Data-driven policing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
We have never really done
forward
that in Detroit the way they have in some other cities. So.
All right. So, you know, if you are counting, there's just about 3 weeks left before school starts in September. And parents, that means shopping for school supplies and, of course, return to packing lunch is my thing that I hate most of all. But this week, Governor Snyder declared a financial emergency in the Pontiac School District. And also this week, Farmington Hills, Lake Orion, and South Redford schools put bond proposals before the voters with mixed results. Okay, two different things here, but we're still talking about funding for our schools. You've got these schools that, districts that are edging towards emergency states, and you've still got districts that are looking for money for their communities, for building upgrades and things like that. And it doesn't seem that people want to give right now.
Well, I mean, you have to look at the environment we're in. These are some of the most put upon taxpayers in the nation. Household incomes here have fallen more than they have any place else in the last decade. You've got 55 school districts in trouble. The governor is pushing, and Superintendent Flanagan is trying to get together a plan to start consolidating some of these districts so we can take more money out of overhead and put it in the classroom. I think that's the only solution, or that's the most immediate solution.
That you think is what's going to happen?
Yeah, you're going to have to do that. But let's be clear, this is not the most put upon taxpayer base in the nation. It's not. It's not even close. We pay 25% less overall now than we did at the end of the Engler administration because of the tax cuts that he implemented and that Jennifer Granholm implemented as well. If you compare us to states that are doing better than us, Minnesota in our region is killing us. Their tax burden's higher than ours.
You look at the income basis, a per capita basis.
I am looking at it that way.
Our incomes here fell 22%.
They did.
And our state and local tax burden has stayed the same. So people.
But it hasn't stayed the same. It went down 25%
at the state level. It's still, when you count in the local taxes, which many of these districts and communities have passed bond issues and tax issues over the last few years. They've not been stingy.
I think the issue for us is we have two choices. One is to start paying for the government we have, which we don't do because we have cut taxes so precipitously here over the last 2 decades, and we still have, and we lost people and income. So we're not yielding enough to pay for the government that we built. Or we've got to start scaling that government down, and like you talked about, consolidating school districts or eliminating them is the other alternative. But you can't continue this starving of government that you
is not starving. You can make government more efficient as a third choice.
Fine.
You can get more money for your tax dollars. I don't think we should suggest that we're paying too little in taxes. I was riding my bike in Hines Park the other day, and I'm riding behind a garbage crew.
This is a visual, by the way. I'm trying to get right
Wayne
now.
County Park,
Nolan bike riding.
Park. You've got a garbage truck going through the park, emptying cans, followed by a van. There's 4 people stop at each garbage can. One gets out and empties a can, and I'm thinking, man, those are my tax dollars at work.
You know, the tax argument in this state is it's very, I mean, it's just very inaccurate right now. I mean, you look at the states that are doing better than us. All of the states on the East Coast have much higher tax burdens than we do in Michigan, and they're kicking our butts at everything, at schools, at roads. You get what you pay
High
for.
taxes does not make a better state. Now, if it
name
were,
a better state
if
that's
it were,
got lower
we would have
taxes.
certainly been a much better state throughout
Well,
the
name
70s,
a state that's doing better than us that's
90s.
got lower taxes.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Well, you can move to Tennessee. I wouldn't live there.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about government. Tonight, the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, is going to be in town, and he is in town for a big fundraiser for Kerry Benevolio, Congressman from the 11th District, who, I don't know, all of a sudden it was a mystery. All of a sudden he's in Washington, and all of a sudden he's got the Speaker of the House here in Michigan fundraising for him. Nolan, what's going on?
Well, that's payment. I mean, everybody expect Kerry Benevolio to go down there and vote with sort of the libertarian wing, the Justin Amash's, be a radical lawmaker, and he's gone to Washington and very smartly voted the way the speakers told him to vote. So this is a payback.
But interestingly enough, he doesn't have the support of local Republicans, all of them, does he?
He's never had the support of local Republicans, but in Washington, he's been a reliable vote for the speaker. They don't care, you know, whether you got 14 reindeer in your backyard or not. What they care about is, did you vote the way we needed you to vote?
Right.
And this is payback from the speaker. I think, you know, I've been surprised at how smart he's played this. He's gone down there. He's not been a radical voice. He's been pretty reasonable in his positions. He supported and advocated for some pretty reasonable legislation.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
the
surprised
vote.
me.
You know, as a freshman legislator in Washington, your job is to provide the votes that
Is to get in
caucus
line,
needs
basically. It's get in
to
line.
pass the stuff that's important to them. And they've done a good job of asking him to vote for things that they need him on and leaving him alone when they don't really need his vote, and so that he can do his, you know, his libertarian or Tea Party thing. He's been very active in like mailing out some bizarre stuff to people in his district, but nobody cares about that in Washington.
He's not done a whole lot of chirping down there.
That's right.
You're not going to see John Boehner go over to Grand Rapids and do a fundraiser for justice.
Yeah, but isn't that weird, though? That's the bar of success, it being a freshman in Congress, that you just kind of put up, shut up, and did the party line and then didn't do anything wrong?
I think, but what would have been the better expectation for Kerry Benevolio? This is not some guy with deep policy experience or understanding. He wasn't going to go
maybe he's
there and
learning
contribute in another way, so this
interesting.
is what he's
He's
there
a vote.
All right, it's time now for headlines. All right, so I saw a quick headline this week that I thought was interesting. A family-friendly restaurant in Texas is now banning children at 7 p.m. So if you are not over the age of 8, you are not allowed to come to the restaurant. They're banning kids under the age of 8 after 7 p.m. at this restaurant.
Nolan will be in there every night.
And so I wonder when they're going to ban obnoxious cell phone guy from the restaurant, you know, after 7 p.m. Oh, I don't know.
Get them all out of
Poor
there.
kids. They just want to eat a nice meal with their parents.
Hey, make them some of those fish sticks at home.
I'm going to drop my kids over at your house, Nolan. All right, what'd you see? Real quick.
Well, you know, Detroit has always had very stylish mayors dating back to the Coleman Young era, and I was struck this week on the day after the election, Benny Napoleon on TV, nice suit, looking good. They switch over to Mike Duggan. He's stretching out a pair of Dockers and a golf shirt, and I'm thinking if he does win in November, he needs to buy Kwame Kilpatrick's
go to a tailor
and get those suits cut down for him.
It was a long night. I'm sure he was excited. All right, Stephen, what'd you see?
My headline is also mayoral. Tom Barrow gave me and Nolan quite a bit of crap a couple weeks ago, and he's been on our backs, but I think the voters spoke loud and clear. I think he got 5,200 votes.
2% Tom.
2% Tom, that's right. You know, that's a 4-time loser now. I'm hoping this is the last encounter we'll have with him.
Bring him around one more time.
And I am thinking, after what you just said, it will not be the last time
He's
that you
gonna write an
hear
email, right?
from Tom Barrow. All right, thanks, gentlemen. And that is going to do us for us here at MiWeek. Remember, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can see any shows that you missed at MiWeek.org. Thanks so much for watching. Come back and see us next Friday for MiWeek. Take care. Have a great weekend.